Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jesus Nava. I'm in the Client Training and Education Department here at TradeStation, and it's a pleasure to be doing these classes for everyone. So welcome, everyone. This is a Learning TradeStation series where we talk about different topics of the TradeStation platform. The topic right now is creating custom OCO-OSO orders in the TradeStation Desktop platform. So we're going to go over the technology, try to understand how to use it, and what is the benefit of creating these custom OCOs. So before we get started, we're going to go over some important disclosures. Keep in mind that every symbol and idea that I present here is for educational purposes only. It is not a recommendation of TradeStation. Also, active trading is not suitable for everyone. It should only be done with risk capital. And this is especially so if you're trading options or futures, which carry a high degree of risk. If anybody would like to read more about these disclosures, please visit our website at tradestation.com and you'll find all the disclosure information at the bottom of the page. I also want to invite everyone to visit our Getting Started with TradeStation channel. This is a channel that is hosted by TradeStation and is available on youcantrade.com. You see the link right there at the bottom, and my colleague Nico, who's also connected in this webinar, will send the link right here in the chat so that you can jump over to the You Can Trade website and have access to the Getting Started with TradeStation channel. We do weekly classes on the Getting Started, and we pretty much, talk about the platforms that as a TradeStation client, you have access to in order to trade the markets. We have the desktop, we have web trading, we have our mobile apps, and it's always great to go to a class so that somebody can tell us how to place a trade or how to use a certain technology. By the way, the technology that we're going to talk about today is all on the desktop. It's all about creating these more advanced and intricate orders that are not available on web trading or mobile forms. But when it comes to creating an order that has a certain behavior, the desktop is the way to go. In addition to the TradeStation Getting Started channel, we're also running this TradeStation Master Class channel. It's $59 a month, and you get a 14-day trial. But what it does, it provides you in-depth presentations on TradeStation platform. So not only you get a high level, or here's where you go to trade, but it also shows you the ins and outs of all the different features that are on TradeStation. So if you want to take your use of the platform to the next level, this will be the channel to attend. I'm having Nico also share the link right here in the chat so that everybody can jump over to the channel. Check it out for 14 days. It's completely free for 14 days, and then you get billed $59 a month. But great content there. You can check it out for 14 days and see if it is something that you want to keep. This is TradeStation 10 for those of you that have already started using the platform. I did a presentation not a long time ago on TradeStation's OCO and OSO functionality. So if you haven't watched that video, I'm not sure if Nico is able to grab the link to that video archive, because this is more like a follow-up to that class. What I'm going to teach you today are types of orders that are not accessible from a template. These are things that you think about and are probably not readily available by just using the regular order entry tools. So I did do a presentation earlier that talked about just the regular OCO and OSO that is built in to TradeStation, available in drop downs. For example, when you go to the matrix and you go to a drop down for OCO, OSO, those are the templates that are already created for you. Today, it's not about that. Today, it's about custom and things that you're going to want to put on your or place on your TradeStation platform. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at what it is and how do I access this custom functionality. After watching this presentation, you may sit there and say, well, this is not technically for me. This is not the style of trading that I do. I just do simple OCOs and OSOs. So maybe the templates that are part of the matrix and that are part of chart trading are sufficient. You don't need anything else. But let me show you the capabilities and the extent to which you can take these orders by just using custom OCOs. In order for you to create these custom OCOs, you do have to enable the trade bar. So the trade bar is this order entry tool that you have here on the top of TradeStation. And if you haven't used it, it's very straightforward, very intuitive. And what I do is you hover over trade and you get the trade bar. What I've done on here is I've clicked on this push pin on the left-hand side to dock the trade bar to the top, and that way it's always visible. Otherwise, if you hover over trade, it's more like a rollout panel that goes in and out. It's an auto hide, but you can click on the push pin here on the left-hand side to make it dock. Okay, and that's what I've done with my trade bar, and that's what I've done with my position graph bar. And I've opened up a chart right here at the bottom. Okay. I am looking at the chat, so as I go through the functionality, I am going to look at certain questions in here. For example, John is asking, is it possible to set stops as percentages rather than points? Not at this time. Everything that is done on TradeStation is either done on a price offset or a specific price. Is it possible to remove or rename the default OCOs, OSOs? Not at this time. Those names are hard-coded to the software. And I did see a question earlier about options. Somebody wanted to trade a two-contract trade where they have two profit targets and a stop loss. That can be done with one of the built-in OCOs that are part of the platform. So what I recommend for the person that submitted that options question is to look at my previous video, and one of those default templates will help you set this two-target one-stop idea. Let's go ahead and create a custom order. And before I do so, let me go ahead and set it up right here on the screen so we understand what is possible. Let's go ahead and take a look at this chart of, this is a company called Barnes Group. The symbol is B. Right now, you can see right here on the chart that the symbol is trading at $38.64. Let me open up the scale a little bit more. I'm going to draw some horizontal lines. Let me draw a horizontal line right here at 38. So I want you to think about this trade for a moment. Okay, we have a simple trade. You know, you buy 1,000 shares at 38, you have a target at 40, and then you have a stop loss at 37. Let's suppose that you have an account that you just opened up with TradeStation, and you funded the account with $10,000 cash. TradeStation in a margin account would usually provide you 4 times your cash, meaning that you have a purchasing power of $40,000, correct? You started off with 10,000 times the margin that TradeStation provides, your purchasing power is $40,000. So can you buy 1,000 shares at 38? Yes, you can. Throughout the day, you can, because we're giving you 4 times your cash. However, coming overnight, your margin drops to twice your cash. So you can only maintain positions that are worth twice your initial cash. So would you be able to hold this position overnight? Of course not, because that would be overextending your margin. And what will happen is that you will receive a margin call, letting you know that you either have to deposit more money or you have to close the position that you're holding. But throughout the day, this trade is okay, because throughout the day or during the market hours, we provide you 4 times your margin. What happens is that you have a target and you have a stop in place. But what happens if it's getting close to the market closing time and the target or the stop have not been met? You still have that position open. You have to close that position before the market closes at 4. What I've shown many times is that you can create an order that has 3 different legs. It has the profit target, it has the stop loss, but at the same time, it has an exit that is activated based on time, so that whichever one gets hit first, then the other get canceled. So this type of trade, if you're concerned about using margin towards the end of the day, and you want to also activate the exit of your position so that you don't hold positions overnight, that is something that can be automated using a custom OCO. So let me go ahead and show you this type of trade and how you can create it. I'm going to come over here to my OCO-OSO button from the order bar. Remember that custom OCOs can only be accessed from this little button on the order bar. The custom OCOs are not accessible from the matrix, and they're not accessible from chart trading, only from here. And this menu, if you look towards the bottom, there's a custom OCO-OSO order. When you click here, you get three different options or three different types of OCO-OSO order. The first one is an order cancels order. You can see their OCO order, which is similar to what we were talking about, where we have different orders that are connected. So if one of them gets filled, then the remaining orders gets canceled. This is probably the one that we are looking for. This bracket order is similar to the templates that we have built into the matrix, where you can bracket a position with a profit target and a stop loss. But they have some limitations because usually a bracket OCO is for the same symbol only, and the quantities are connected. So if one side gets partially filled, the other side is automatically decremented. So based on what we described earlier, it's not an option for us because we're not looking just for that two order setup. We're looking for what we described at the beginning. And the third one is what we call an OSO, which is an order sends order. This is the type of order where you have a primary that is going to send secondary orders. That's interesting because what we want to do is we want to trade Barnes. We said that we wanted to buy 1,000 shares at 38, and then we want to send our profit target, our stop loss, and our time activated exit. So whenever you have a combination of entries that are going to trigger exits, you want to choose the third option because you want to build an order that has a primary that send secondary orders. If you have a position open already, then the option that you're looking for is the top one because you're just concerned about exit orders. You already have your position. So just to recap, if you're building a trade that has an entry that's going to send exits, you want this third option, OSO order. So I'm just going to select that one, click OK. So this is how the dialog looks, and we're going to set it up here. And I'm going to call this order because the nice thing about these orders is that you can name them anything you want. And I'm going to call this target, stop, exit, time, activated order. All right. So my entry is going to be for B, which is Barnes Group. So I'm just going to type in the symbol. And we said that we were going to buy 1,000 shares here. So I'm going to type in 1,000 shares. And the price, I said that I was going to buy at 38. So I'm going to put in here and type in 38. This order, I'm going to send it as a GTC. The markets are closed right now, but I want to be able to submit that trade. And it's probably going to be queued and sent to the order execution server so that when the market opens tomorrow, it'll be activated. So that's my buy order, good to cancel at 38 limit. Now, here's where the tricky part comes in. I'm going to click on the primary order or the symbol for the primary order, and I'm going to click this button at the bottom that says attach a single order as an OSO. I do not want to attach a bracket because we go back to the same concept of having two orders that are connected by symbol and by quantity. Not necessarily what I want here. I want to have full control of every single order that I attach. And that's why I am clicking on attaching a single order. I can always, connect them later, which I'm going to show you right now. So let me go ahead and click on this attach single order as OSO. And one of the things that I want you guys to notice is when you do that, the second row is going to have an indentation. And the indentation just pretty much tells you that that second row that we just added is connected to the one above it. That's what the indentation means. It's a contingent order to the one right above it. And if I keep on clicking on attach a single order, it's going to keep on doing that indentation and create these relationships between one order and the other, which is not what I want. So let me go ahead and backtrack. And the way that you backtrack, if you do what I just did, is clicking on the row that you don't want. You click on the symbol for that row and you press delete on the keyboard. It gets rid of it. What I want is I want all the orders that I'm going to attach to be at the same indentation so that they have the same prominence and they are active at the exact same time. The other two are going to be canceled right after because remember, these are going to be connected in an OCO. So what I do in order to have the same indentation for all the orders that I'm going to add, is I have to click back on the primary before I click on attach single order one more time. Take a look at how the indentation is looking right now. Same tabbing. I click on the primary one more time, and then I attach a third one. Why a third one? Because we talked about this example where we have a profit target, we have a stop loss, and then we have a time activated exit. So let's talk about the target first. Our target is going to be a selling transaction for 1,000 shares. And we said that that's going to be at $40. So we put in our target price in there. The next row is going to be our stop. We're going to do a selling transaction for 1,000 shares. This is going to be our stop market order. And we said that our stop was going to be $37. If by the close of the day, I haven't hit the target or I haven't hit the stop, I'm going to send a selling transaction for 1,000 shares, but this time it's going to be a market order. But this market order, let me go back here to the main symbol. It's going to have an activation rule. So over here towards the bottom, there's a checkbox for activation rule. And I'm going to go to the ellipsis to set my time conditions. I check the box for time. I set my time to the time of the market. Keep a mental note about what's set here. It says local time. So the time that you put in here is whatever your computer clock tells you is the close of the session. Don't go by exchange time. We know that the market closes at 4, but if you live on the Pacific coast and your computer clock says that the market closes at 1 p.m., then you have to go by what your computer clock says. You have to use local time, not exchange time. I'm on the East Coast. I live in Florida, so the market closes here at 4 p.m., but I want my time-activated exit to be at 3:55. 5 minutes before the market of the close. I can be a little bit closer to the market and say 3:58 so that it closes my position 2 minutes before the market close, and I just click OK. So take a look at what's going on here because it's pretty cool. I have all my orders, and if you look over here on the far right, I have this advanced column where I see my activation rule. Time has to be 3:58 p.m., and this will work for tomorrow. Now, this time activated, let me clarify something. Time activated rules have to be sent on the day of because this is not going to work tomorrow because the 3:58 has already happened today, and it's going to say something to the effect that if you send it today, it has already happened. So if you're sending time activated orders, it's important that you send them the day of. So you can go even before the market opens tomorrow and send this order, but it has to be the day off so that it knows that the time hasn't passed. Because there's no way here to say, I want 3:58 p.m. of tomorrow. What happens is that this functionality will look at 3:58 and assume that it's going to be today, okay? But there's one more thing that I need to do. Once you create an order like this, all you need to do is connect those 3 orders together into an OCO. I know that I attach them one by one, but there's no connection between them yet. And the way that I connect them is very simple. I have to highlight the 3 symbols. And I do that by clicking and dragging. I click on the first one and I drag down, similar to when you're going to highlight a paragraph or you're going to highlight something on a web. You do the same thing here on the symbols. Highlight the 3 symbols, right click on the highlight, and group as OCO. When I do that, those 3 orders are connected in an OCO, meaning that whenever each one of them gets canceled or any one of them gets filled, the remaining 2 orders are going to be canceled. That's very, very useful. Since I put a name to it, this is going to be saved. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stage the order. Notice it's a button here. It works wonders because you don't have to create this setup again from scratch. You can just go and edit it. I'm going to stage the order, and that's it. I've created my first custom order. But if you are looking for this type of setup in the templates that we have available in TradeStation, you're not going to find one, or at least this type of template where you have a target, you have a stop loss, and you have a time-activated exit all at the same time for the same security. Let's see. Do I need to have TradeStation platform open all day for that transaction to occur at the end of the day? No, Mike, and everyone here. Whenever you submit a trade like this that has a three scenario setup, that order is on the TradeStation order execution server. It actually is monitored by TradeStation, and when the conditions are true, TradeStation sends and executes the orders for you. Okay, so that order is not on your computer, so you can shut down your TradeStation, assured that the order will be, executed the way that you have specified. What key did you press to remove the OSO suborder? If you make a mistake and you add an extra order that is indented in the way that you did not expect or did not want, just click on the symbol that you'd want to delete and press delete on the keyboard. Easy way to remove that row. Can I put that type of order into the pre-market? Yes, and you can try it on the simulator. Tomorrow before the market opens, try to create an order like this, and it would have to be sent as a GTC. GTC, when you send an order GTC, it's going to be sent to the order execution server, and it's going to be queued until the market opens, and it's going to be sent to the market for execution. All right, let's go ahead and talk about another example. I'm going to do 3 examples. We just talked about one. I'm going to do another one, which is a little complex. Hopefully you guys can follow me, but it's a very interesting setup. And it's one of those things that you put into the market and you just leave it and let it play out, because you've already considered your targets, you've already considered your exits, your risks, and you just want to play out the plan that you had designed originally. So let me try to paint it here on the screen to see if we can make some sense out of it. Okay, so let's go ahead and change the symbol to ESM20. All right, let me open up the chart here. And I'll move it down here. Okay, so the market right now, it's 29.94. Let's suppose that we are going to short the S&P futures. All my examples are always bullish. I'm always putting long trades rather than short trades. In this particular example, I'm going to short the S&P 500 E-mini futures, and I'm going to shoot for a price of 3,000. Right now, it's 29.95. So let's go ahead and do that. And I'm selling 3 contracts because I want to show you ways in which you can scale out of a position and have your stops change as the market moves in your favor. This is what we're going to do. So what's happening is, as the market moves in my favor, I'm going to get rid of my contracts. I'm going to have one that is conservative, that is really close to the entry price, and I'm going to let the other contracts exit as it goes in my favor. If it goes against me, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to go in here and draw a horizontal line. I'm going to say, let me open this up a little bit more. We're going to establish a position of 3 contracts. And if you're a stock trader, you can think about maybe trading a position of 3,000 or 300 or something that you can divide by 3, because this is a type of order that is going to have 3 exits and it's going to try to scale out. But this is the way that we're going to set it up. We're going to start with 3 contracts. And if the market goes against us, so it goes up because we are short, if it goes against us, it's going to stop our trade and close our position at 30 or 3,010. Does that make sense? It goes against us. This is like our stop loss. But if it goes in our favor and it reaches our first contract or our first target, which is 29.80, what we're going to do is we're going to buy 1 contract, and the remaining 2 will continue in the market. But at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to move this stop, and we're going to put it right here on top of our break even. Does that make sense? So as soon as we reach the first target, we're going to move our stop to break even. If the market returns and goes against us, the remaining 2 contracts are going to be exited at break even, at least. If it goes in our favor and it continues to go up, and if it reaches the first target, the second target, then we have 1 contract remaining, meaning that the stop here, we're going to change it from a break even. We're going to turn it into a trailing stop. Does that make sense? So it's a 3 scale out trade where the stop is being changed from a fixed stop to a break even and then to a trailing stop. It's a multi-step process, and the only way that you can accomplish this type of trade is by using a custom order. Let's go ahead and set it up. Let's go ahead and put in that trade. I'm going to go to the OCO-OSO button, custom OCO-OSO order. Since we have a primary that's going to send your exits, we're going to choose the OSO option right below. I'll click OK. And this is where we start setting up our trade. This will be a futures scale out, break even, trailing stop. So I know some of the components of this order is going to be for futures. It's going to scale out as it goes in my favor. Then it's going to break even for 2 contracts, and then it's going to trail stop for the remaining one. Let's go ahead and set it up here. When I set it up here on the screen, it'll make a little bit more sense. Let's type in the symbol ESM20. And as I said at the beginning, you know, a lot of these trades. So I'm going to short. So let me sell 3 contracts. And I did say that I'm going to do a limit order. Let me change my duration to GTC because the markets are closed. And I wanted to sell short at 3,000. That's in relationship to this price that we specified. We want to short at 3,000. Okay. Now I'm going to set my first target and my fixed stop, which are my first target is at 29.80. And I said that my fixed stop was 30.10. Let's go ahead and set that up. I'm going to click here on the primary order. I'm going to attach a single order. And then I'm going to click back on the primary and attach another single order, because remember, these are 2. The first 2 orders are one for a target and the other one for a stop. We're going to change them to buys because we are going to get rid of the contracts. On the target, on the first target though, we're just going to exit one contract out of the 3. And our target is going to be a limit order of 29.80. So I'm going to type in the price in there, 29.80. My second row is going to be a buy transaction for the 3, but it's going to be a stop market, because if the price goes up to 30.10, I'm out. So that's 10 points for my entry. But if it goes against us and it goes to 3,010, it's going to exit our position completely. Next step, connect the 2 orders. So let me highlight these 2 symbols, right click and group. Why? Because if one side gets filled, the other side gets canceled, right? If we get stopped, we exit our 3 contracts, but we don't want to have the other buying transaction laying around. We want the other side to be canceled. If the target is reached, meaning that if it exits one of these contracts, I want that order to trigger the remaining orders. Does that make sense? Since that's the one that's going to leave 2 contracts remaining, that's the one that is going to trigger the next one. So I'm going to click on that row and I'm going to attach a single order. Click on that row again and attach another single order. So we start branching our orders in. Let's talk about the second target. This one right here, this other horizontal line that we drew at 29.60. That's going to be our second target. So we're going to buy 1 contract and we're going to put in the price here, 29.60. That's our target right there. And this one right here is going to be our break even. So over here, let's go ahead and set it as a stop market order. And our break even is going to be 3,000. 3,000 because that's the price that we entered. Right? And that's going to exit 2 contracts. Just remember that the quantity and keep track of how many contracts are remaining. If it reaches 1 target, we have a second target and we have our break even for the remaining 2. And one more step, I need to connect the 2 orders. So let me go ahead and connect these into an OCO. Once it reaches that second target, which is down here, 29.60, we have one contract remaining. And all we need is to have a trailing stop connected to it, so that if it continues to go in our favor, then we have our stop, which is not static anymore, is not fixed at 30 or 3010, is not at break even anymore. It's a trailing stop, which moves with the market. So that is going to be triggered by that second target. We're just going to attach a single order, which is another buy transaction. And this is going to be a stop market. And we're going to use the functionality down here, which is a trailing stop. So we don't specify the stop up here. We come down here, trailing stop, and we're going to set that trailing stop at 10 points away. The market goes and goes and goes up, and this will stay 10 points away from that target, which is 29.60. It's an interesting setup. You can see how this type of trade is going to take advantage of the branching of these orders, the nested orders. So you have, at the very beginning, you have these two that are the outermost exits, which is going to take care of one target and the stop loss. It's not until it reaches the first target that it goes inside of here, and then you have the next two main orders. And it's not until it reaches the second target that then the order or the trailing stop is activated. So once I'm done, I can stage the order. Staging is a way of saving orders for later execution. Can you make blank templates out of these without the prices? Not really. So you'd have to create the template, and then you have, when you're going to send the order and the prices have changed, you can come here and edit the prices. Or instead of doing specific prices, I've done specific prices here, but you can do, there's a drop down here that says offset from primary. So rather than having fixed prices, you can go offset from the primary, and you can say, well, 20 points higher, and then you don't have to worry about what the entry price is. Let me show you this. Let me save this staged order. Let me show you one example where it's a little bit more practical because there's no prices associated. So let me go here to where my staged orders are. So if you want to have access to your staged orders, just open up the Trade Manager window. And in the Trade Manager, you're going to have the Staged Orders tab. We find the two orders that we created in there. This is the futures scale out. I can right click and I can say edit futures scale out break even trailing stop at the trade bar. And we go in here and it opens up the order for you again. We're going to call this futures market. So I can trade at market. Let's say that I do 3 contracts at market. And then instead of using this offset or this 20-point target, I can say, give me an offset from primary fill. And I'm going to set this to 80 minimum minus 80 minimum price increment. Why minus 80? Because our example had a profit target of 20 points. This futures trades in quarters of a point. So for every point, there's 4 minimum price increments. Since we have 4 minimum ticks, 4 times 20 is 80. And we do have to input a negative number because this is a short trade and our target would be below minus 80 minimum ticks. So that's our first target. Our stop, again, we can go over here and say offset from primary fill. And our stop, we set it to 10. Actually, it was 10 points, right? And 10 times 4 is 40. So we set it to 40 minimum moves to the upside. So here we have the first target, offset from primary fill. And we're going to do 80 again, or minus 80 for the second target. And for the stop over here, we're going to do offset from primary fill. And this will be 40 to break even. And the last one, we have our target amount here in specific, hold points. So this is the type of order that it's a little bit more sensitive to current price fluctuations. You're not targeting a specific price per se, but you're entering at market, and all the different targets and stops are based on that price that you enter at in the form of an offset. So it's going to count the number of ticks from the entry price, and that's what's going to set the price for these targets and stops. Let's take a look at some of the questions here. And you can use other pricing functionality. For example, if I do limit and I go over here on this drop down, I can say join. Join is a type of trade that's going to buy the 3 contracts and join the bid. You can have all the other pricing functionality here. If you want to hit take, meaning that you want to buy or sell at the bid, you can do that as well. The second stop, offset B0, since it's break even. Larry, good point. The second stop, and I'm not sure if you're able to identify the second stop, but it would be this one right here. The second stop, remember that the offset from primary fill, it says 40. The reason why that is the case is because when it reached the very first target, you know, this is a good point. If you want this stop to break even, you have to take into account how far in your favor the position has gone. For example, you enter the market, that's the first row. On the first target, you are already in your favor 80 minimum price increments, which is 20 whole points. So if you want the break even, which is this one right here, to be, if you want that order to be at break even, we have to come in the opposite direction by 80 points. So this, instead of 40, should say 80. Okay, so it goes up. It goes down 80 in your favor. It would have to go up against you 80 in order for you to be at break even. So take that into account. You just have to do the math in your head to know what break even is. Let's go ahead and take a look at one last example. I'm running a little bit out of time, but I want to show you a little bit of a different example and see what other possibilities are out there. I want to show you something. This is something that I was thinking about earlier, and I said, could this be something that can be traded? I'm not sure if you've thought about this before, or if it is something that you want to study a little bit further. I haven't done much on it, but I just thought it was an interesting idea. From Victor, can I create an OSO template to be used for several symbols? You'd have to create them for the symbols and have them listed here. So this is my entry for spiders. This is my entry for Apple. So there's no template that you can create that is generic that would actually apply to any symbol, unfortunately. You'd have to create the template here and then edit the template if you want to trade a different symbol. $ESINX. Not sure if you guys have heard of this symbol before, but this is just an interesting idea. This is an index. It's called the premium index. And what it does, it just tracks the difference between the futures and the index for the S&P 500. So these are two products that are based on the same S&P 500 index. So they're highly correlated. So whenever these two symbols become uncorrelated, meaning that there's a big difference between what the futures price is and what the index value is, there may be a trading opportunity. So let me show you something, because this is technically the futures minus the index. If I come over here to my OCO, I'm going to go to custom OCO-OSO order, and I'm going to do an OSO. And what I'm going to be trading, this is my futures index trade. I'm going to trade the S&P E-mini ESM20. I'm going to buy one contract, and I'm going to buy it at limit. Let's do a GTC here. It's not giving me, that's because the markets are closed. I'm going to change the duration to GTC, and let's do a market order, a quick execution. But we're going to activate this order based on the difference or the value of the premium. I'm going to turn on activation rules, and I'm going to click on the ellipsis. Look at the value of $ESINX. If this value is positive, it means that the futures is higher than what the index is. So if it reaches a value of 50, I'm going to sell one contract, but I'm also going to trigger an order from this one, which is going to trade Spider. Spider, it's an ETF based on the S&P 500 index, and I'm going to buy 500 shares at market. Now, this type of trade is all based on the activation rule that I put in here. But it's interesting, and I wanted to show you this type of trade because you can start mixing symbols together. Okay, to edit the symbol, let's say that you want to activate and change the symbol. Let me go ahead and edit this order. So here we have an order for Barnes. If you wanted to change the symbol, all you need to do is click on a symbol cell and type over. Let's say that I want to do Microsoft instead. So I type in Microsoft for all the symbols. And then I would have to adjust the prices here. Okay. You could call it, yes, some sort of spread trading. However, let me not confuse everyone here, even though I created something that has two different symbols. Let me go over here. I created a trade that has the futures S&P E-mini, and it also has the ETF for the S&P 500, but in no way this is created as a spread. It's just a type of order where two symbols are connected so that one gets executed and it sends an order for the other one. So if you do want to trade two different markets at the same time, this would be a way to do it using the custom OCO order. Can you leave a staged order there indefinitely and edit it whenever you need it, leaving the original as staged? Yes, definitely. When you stage an order, it saves that order into the staged orders tab. So you can right click on it, you can edit the order. And if you're gonna edit the order, just give it a custom name up here. You can modify the name. You can do number 1, number 2, or you can just specify the symbol. So you can associate the order with the symbol. And that way, when you look at the list of staged orders, you know what symbol is being traded. But these staged orders will remain here when they're sent. Let me take this trade, which is my futures trade, and I'm going to send it. This is my confirmation. And I'm going to say yes. Okay, that order is sent. If I go to my orders tab, I can see my order sitting right here. There's a primary order that's going to short 3 contracts. Take a look at 3,000, and the order has been received. If I go over to a chart, let me see ESM 20, and I open this up. Let me go to a 5-minute chart. Okay, you can see the orders right there. You see my first limit at 29.80, the second limit at 29.60, and you have our stop in place in here. Our order for 3,000 is the red line, so you can see the actual order being submitted on the chart as well. Do staged order live on the sim, or did they carry over into live? Anything you create on the platform is saved, and it doesn't matter which environment you create them in, they are saved to the platform, the same platform that is connected to live and that is connected to the sim, so they will carry over. So if you like the functionality and there are certain types of orders that you've always wanted to place on TradeStation and you haven't been able to, join me in the masterclass channel and we'll talk about them, and I'll walk you through the different steps on how to create them. But I just want to say thank you for taking this time and spending, these 60 minutes with me, especially learning about this technology, which I know it's not the easiest technology, but once you get a good handle on it, you're going to see how efficient it is to trade using these types of orders. Thank you, everyone, for your time, and I hope to see you in a future event right here at TradeStation. Goodbye, everyone.